I'd like to request Ma'am Rabiya Javeri to also share her insight regarding the topic. Thank you.
No. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I'm going to just share a statistic and then I'll let you all decide. 90% women in Pakistan have faced harassment or abuse. 50% don't even know there's a law that talks about harassment, that criminalizes harassment. 11 women a day are raped. 3% is the conviction rate for rape. Now you decide this picture. Tell me, what is the story we're talking about? We're talking of lack of awareness, and we're talking about extremely hard processes in accessing justice. And that's the question I think we need to talk about today. So thank you.
I'd like to request Mme. Rabiya Javeri to talk about how NCHR has contributed to public awareness and institutional understanding of women's civil and political rights in Pakistan.
So really, just to be very brief, the commission, और मैं उसी में बात करती हूँ, आप लोग सबको समझ आए, commission के पांच responsibilities हैं. We have a legislative mandate, so we guide the government which law is good, which law is bad, which law needs to be in position. हमने क्या domestic violence bill, I'll speak back and forth on it. The domestic violence, age of marriage, the Torture Act. Pakistan had ratified the act, but we had no Torture Act. How do we spread awareness? हम आगाही कैसे देते हैं लोगों को, बच्चों को कि आपके क्या में कैसे, how do you need to move forward? And awareness and advocacy. So in the work that we did, we looked at laws. So we looked at all the laws I mentioned: domestic violence, torture, age of marriage. The age of marriage had been signed. I had helped draft it in Sindh in 2012. It was passed in 2025 in Islamabad. How do we guide the government? Look, we don't play the game. Like if you play football, we don't play football. We are like the referees. We tell the government what should you do, what should you not do, right? So for instance, in policy, what does the government need to do to make policy better? I'll give you all just a simple guide here. Women sitting here, do you know the Nikah, which you sign when you get married? Column 17 and 18 talks about your right to divorce and your right for maintenance, which is mentioned in the Quran. Your right to claim your separation from your husband. And do you know that 91% of registrars will cut that out? They will deny you your right that God has given you. So these are policy interventions. How do you tell the government, hey, make this a criminal offense? If anybody says to you, cut out this column, your husband doesn't need to give you maintenance, or you can't take divorce, the government has to criminalize it so registrars don't have that power to change the way you move or your agency or your power. We handle complaints as a civil court. We handle many complaints, over 9,000 complaints. Then what we do is we also have the power to go into a court proceeding. So I'll give an example. You may all remember that horrible video of Usman Mirza in which he raped this couple. And he raped them, the video became viral, everybody was really upset. And they went to court, they filed a case of rape against him. And exactly as Shaista said, 5 months after the case was registered, they said, no, it's not Usman Mirza. So this is somebody else. So we went to court and we said, we're going to become a party. Even if people don't have the courage, but this is the job of the commission to become a party. So when we became a party, then they got panicked and the woman said, you know what, this is not me. She backed out completely. But Usman Mirza did get a life sentence. And what I'm trying to say to you is that this thing that Shaista has talked about, which is compromise, you all know Adil Baloch was killed by her brother as an honor killing. And he was sentenced to life. And the mother and father compromised. And he was out of jail in 6 months. And the audacity of the man who came out of jail with a victory sign. And you thought, whoa, he he just killed one of the most young, outspoken women of our country. And he comes out with a victory sign. So, you know, these are the different areas. We're not the government, but we intervene in areas that I don't want to go out of my. Do I have 2 minutes? Yeah. I'll give you an example, which is now my baby. It's my case. So one day we received a call from a woman who said my roommate has been kidnapped, and we okay, where is she? She's housed in a rehabilitation home on the outskirts of Islamabad. So my members went and they rescued her and they came back and they said, ma'am, we found her. So I said, well, was she something wrong with her? I said, no ma'am, she's an MPhil student. So, is she underage? I said, no, she's 34 years old. She works for a multinational company and she was imprisoned in a rehab home. So I said, whoa, the case isn't finished, it started. We called everybody. We called the police, we called the health ministry, we called the girl. And the girl said, ma'am, I was doing a presentation for my boss, and these 2 men and 1 woman barged into my apartment. My mother ran away. My roommate got scared and hid in a corridor. And they said to me, you're mad, come on with us. She said, I'm not mad. I said, no, you're mad. And she said, ma'am, they jumped on me. I was in my night dress. They jumped on me. They gave me an injection. And I don't know anything, but I woke up in a little room and I was imprisoned. And they gave me then tablets, which I didn't take, and then they would search my mouth, and then they would give me the psychotropic drugs, and I was out again. And then one day they woke me up and they gave me a pink tracksuit and they said, go and play badminton. And so she said, I played badminton and somebody was videoing me. And then they brought me to the room, they drugged me again and I went to sleep. And the next thing I knew, you guys are here. And so I said, who put you in? And she said, my mother. And the mother said, ma'am, she doesn't get married. She doesn't listen to us. I went to a doctor, he said she's depressed. So he said, let her in a very good center, it looks after her, and they sent me a video, she's happily playing badminton in a tracksuit. And I didn't know, ma'am. So we said, whoa. So we started to investigate these rehab homes. We did a public ad, and if any of you know anybody like this, please come to us. We discovered 9 girls in just Islamabad. One was a Supreme Court lawyer who was declared mad by her brother because he wanted her property. One was a girl who had been raped by her brother who declared her mad. She worked in an advertising firm. We called women, do you know any woman? And this was a new form of patriarchy. You don't like your wife, she's not listening to you, don't like your sister, declare them mad, send them off to these homes, pay a little bit of money and they're gone. And I approached Shaista, and I have to tell this, and I said, Shaista, we need to regulate it. And I have to acknowledge this woman who said, I'm here for you. Whatever we can do, we will try and fix the system where they are now using these homes to stop a woman from saying no. No to marriage, no to whatever X, Y, Z. So I want to bring to light some of the kind of work we do. So it's a small case, and then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you find out there's health ministry involved, there's regulation which is loose, there's lack of proper legislation. Then you have to call all your friends from Parliament, from the health ministry to say, how do we do it? So it's a little case the Commission does, and then it becomes bigger. And I've talked too much, thank you.
I would like to ask Madam Rabiya Javeri, what role does NCHR play in supporting the implementation and oversight of provincial laws addressing child marriage and violence against women? Thank you.
Thank you. As I said, we're not an implementing agency. We oversee the government and what the government does vis-a-vis implementation. So Pakistan is a highly over-legislated country. We have too many laws. There was a study done by the Legal Aid Society. 42% of lawyers don't know those laws exist. We have too many institutions. one institution, another institution, third institution. We have too many helplines. I know I once had a case of a woman who lost a child, and she said, "Bibi, main kahan jaun? 15, 115, 1213, 114. I mean, for God's sakes, people are lost in the plethora of information that is coming out in this country. We need to downsize, we need to make it simpler. We've got torture law, but the torture law says now FIA will do the torture. The rules now say police and FIA will do torture, NCHR will do oversight. There's a lot of confusion from the side of the user. You know, people are young, you know, the user, it has to be user-friendly. So we're not user-friendly. So as Shaista said, you have a lot of laws, but they're not implemented. And sometimes they're not implemented because there's no supply chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes they're not implemented because people actually don't want them to be implemented. So I give you an example of the domestic violence bill. The domestic violence bill was passed in 2013 in Sindh. Sindh is generally quite progressive with these kind of laws. The first, and I've said this before, I keep quoting this, I'm sure whoever has heard it. The law, it took 6 years for the first conviction under that law. The lawyer was Saadia. And when the judge did it, he said, well, I don't believe domestic violence is a public issue. I believe it is a private issue. But you know, because there is a law, I'm forced to kind of give the favor and the person's verdict in that favor. So I think it's not really about laws or institutions or about, it's about mindsets. Pakistan is deeply it's infiltrated patriarchal mindset. There is what we call the weaponization of morality. I don't like what she's wearing, let's shoot her out. I don't like how she's speaking, let's kill her. So the weaponization of morality, which comes from this deep-rooted patriarchy. And I keep saying, I'm not worried about 1 case or 2 cases or 3 cases. I'm worried about how this mindset seeps into the way police investigate. It seeps into the way the courts, you lawyers, you perceive cases in the court system, the way judges look at cases. So when this mindset changes the way institutions work, that's when it becomes very difficult. It doesn't become about law implementation, it becomes how to change the mindset of that judge who says, so how do we change that mindset? And that means going back in time. It's not making more laws, making more institutions, one another, all that nonsense. I don't believe in that. And that means education. 10, 11 million women in Pakistan do not have a Shanakti card. They don't exist. Tomorrow they die, you don't know who they were. They don't exist. So how do we make systems where you bring the women up, but you also teach society to respect those women who, for instance, don't have a Shanakti card and don't exist. So it's about bringing in systems and changing mindsets, and not what we can do to implement whether one domestic person is sentenced or not. So in the bigger picture, thank you.